Well, comedy's not allowed anymore, is it? Right? So comedy's not allowed, and sarcasm's not allowed, and you're not allowed to say anything that could possibly be misconstrued as something that it doesn't mean. Like, the world we're living in is just insane. And it's crazy because they truly assume people are more stupid than they are. I think most people are very well versed to understand when somebody's making a joke and when something's sarcastic and when something's taken out of context. And like, especially, you know what I feel like? I think it's like the English in me, because I'm half English, especially the English. That's all we do is take the piss. That's all we do is like say things and exaggerate things and make fun of each other. Americans are all like, oh my God, what did you just say? It's like, that's just our culture. It's how we are. I'm not saying I didn't mean a lot of the things I said, but it's certainly difficult now to live in the world I live in and that we live in, where absolutely everything can be used against you all of the time. It's kind of scary. I mean, I knew I'd be big and I knew I had a message. I knew that people would pay attention to it. But the idea that I'd become the most famous man in the world, I didn't see. But I think the reason that's happened is because I've become an anti-hero. But to be a hero, you need to have an enemy. And my enemies have made themselves so visible. And I've also called for a very long time the moves my enemies are going to make. And they continue to prove me right. And when they prove me right, they prove their existence, right? If I sit there and say, the Matrix is after me and the Matrix is going to do this, and then it happens, well, then they prove their existence. So I am now in the middle of a battle, and battles are certainly entertaining. They've always been entertaining. And I'm not just an influencer. I'm a guy who's engrossed in a battle. And I think a lot of people find affinity in my message and understand that me fighting this war is in many ways fighting for all the men on earth. It could happen to anybody. So they've made me bigger and bigger. And it's kind of like the attempt to shrink me and destroy me has done the absolute opposite. And here I am. There's certainly a cabal of people who have mass influence over the world who are not people we elect or know their names. I would never kill myself. I'll start by saying that. And I don't have a direct beef with these people. That's what's actually interesting. If you're a billionaire or you're an extremely important person from an extremely important family and you're born into this degree of power and wealth, you're going to wield it and you're going to use it. That's human nature, right? You can't expect somebody to have that kind of influence and not use it. Totally respect and understand that. But then I've become massively influential and they see my influence as a counter to their narratives. So, as it's always been since the dawn of human time, when you have a counter narrative or a counter influence, you aim to destroy it. It's always been that way, right? The English and the Scottish, it's counter narratives and you go to war. So I have a narrative which is countering their narratives that they control, and they feel like I need to be punished for that. And they're massively influential and powerful, and now I find myself in the position I'm in with a matrix attack. And unfortunately, the law is so complicated in most countries on earth for a reason, right? They don't make the law like the 10 Commandments. Don't steal, don't kill. They don't make it simple. They make it extremely complicated and subjective and difficult to understand, and you need lawyers and all this. And the main reason for that is, one, so that certain people can get away with certain things, depending on what kind of lawyer you have. And two, so that it's subjective enough that it can be used as a weapon. The law can be weaponized. I would argue, even though you're probably one of the nicest men I've ever met, if they were to take the entire book of law and look at it and get legal experts in an attempt to hit you with crimes, they'll find crimes. This could be maybe, that could be maybe, this and his friend, that's a criminal group, and it's all subjective, and they just attack you. It's a weapon. It's a weapon that they use. The judicial system, unfortunately, is a weapon that is used to hurt people when they get to a certain level of influence, and I'm not the only one who's been through it. I knew it was coming, and now I'm fighting for my life. It's quite an interesting scenario. What's interesting is I can tell you that me and my brother had a conversation when I was in Dubai about 2 weeks before I was arrested. I was sitting there with Tristan. We'd just been canceled, right? They deleted all our social medias, deleted all our bank accounts, deleted our Uber account, our Airbnb account, our Facebook, our Gmail. They delete you from everything at once. in an attempt to unperson you, and that didn't work. We weren't unpersoned. They made heroes of us, and we became more famous than before. And I was sitting with Tristan in Dubai, and we're in this beautiful $40 million mansion, and we have a Bugatti outside and a McLaren outside, and business is going well. And Tristan turns up, he comes in the house, and there's like 5 beautiful girls. And he's like, oh yeah, just bring some chicks in, whatever. And the waiters are bringing us drinks, and we're smoking shisha and $500 cigars. And I'm sitting there, and I said, Tristan, everything's perfect. And he goes, yeah, I know. I said, we're fucked. We're fucked. He goes, why? What do you mean? I was like, there's no way life doesn't go this way, Tristan. I'm 36, right? There's no way at 36 I could have just made it and it's fine. Something's gonna come. He's like, we'll be careful, none of us are gonna die. We'll always roll as a team, all this stuff. We'll up the security and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah. I just had this feeling. I just knew. A week later, I'm in a Romanian jail surrounded by cockroaches. So it's kind of like the balance and the yin and yang of life. I've always understood that whether it's God or the universe or whatever, it doesn't allow you to just climb. Whatever goes up must come down to a degree. And I knew that some kind of attack was coming. I didn't expect to get hit with this. Human trafficking is insane. It's an insane charge. I expected something else. But now that I've analyzed it and I've been through it, I understand they're trying to slander my name. You can't slander my name with a fucking tax charge. Nobody cares. They're trying to slander my name and make out that I'm a heinous, dangerous, bad person, because they've been trying to do that with the media for the last year. So that's what they're trying to do. And I find massive reassurance in the fact that nobody believes them. It kind of scares me that nobody believes them, because now it makes me wonder what they're going to try next. But also, it is nice when you're called a human trafficker by the Matrix to wake up and see 10,000 comments of everyone saying bollocks. It is nice to see that people don't believe it, because I would hate for people to actually believe that about me. And basically nobody does. In fact, I struggle to find anybody who does. If you actually look online underneath all these stupid headlines, nobody believes any of it, because everybody understands. And yeah, we've grown monumentally big, and now I feel like I have a huge responsibility, and my responsibility is to tell the truth and be a good person and make sure I say things in a way that they can't be misconstrued. But also now, in this particular battle I'm in, I feel like I'm fighting for the rights of every single man on earth, because what they're doing to me has happened to loads of, like you said, famous, influential men, and even worse, not famous, not influential men. How many men are getting wrecked with this garbage that you never heard of? Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? What if I were to tell you one of the American girls who started all this garbage has accused 7 other men of human trafficking? 7. How many times can one person be human trafficked? Do you understand where I'm coming from? And you're just telling me about the prison time that people who lie are serving. That makes me feel good inside of my heart, because I believe that the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice. It may take time, but in the end, people who lie will pay the price. I believe that. I believe in truth. And I'm very patient. And I know that justice will be done. But yeah, it's absolutely insane. And it's insane because, yeah, this is happening to me and the whole world knows about it. But how many men lose custody of their children because they're falsely accused of heinous things, beating the woman or molesting the kids or whatever, right? It's crazy. And yeah, women need protecting. We all agree on that. But I feel like it's a constant balance. The pendulum's constantly swinging, and we're trying to find the medium in which women are safe to go to the police and make genuine complaints, and that men must pay the price, but also it doesn't go too far and men can't live a life. And I feel like it's swung too far one way. And the bad thing about that is that in life, whenever you have a pendulum that swings too far one way, guess what happens? It swings too far back the other way. People are getting pissed off with this shit. Constant, never-ending lies about men being rapists. Eventually, it's going to swing back to the point where a woman who's genuinely hurt is going to go to the police and they're not going to care. And that's terrible. That's disgusting in and of itself. But then whose fault is that? That's the fault of all the women who keep lying. So we're in this situation, we're trying to find this happy medium, and it's insanity. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind, if I wasn't world famous, I wouldn't be going through any of this garbage. But that's also the way it works, because we talk about the Matrix and how important people are in charge of the world. You can also look at the world in a far less interesting, more benign way. And I'll give you an example of that. You're a prosecutor. You have a job for the government. You're not particularly well paid. You do a job. And this guy stole a Mars bar. Okay, do the paperwork. This guy stole a Mars bar. This guy stole a car. This guy stole a car. Who? Oh, don't know. Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate! Do you understand? There's a degree of, wow. Prosecutors, they get hard on for a famous rich guy. It doesn't even have to be from the tip top matrix. It can just be a prosecutor with a hard on because you're famous and you're rich. And it's interesting. So this entire battle, there's so much I cannot say as I was learning why this happened to me and why certain organizations and countries haven't saved me when they should have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, they say more money, more problems. To a degree, I guess that's true. But I think all men should be allowed to live in relative safety and live a life which is normal. The things they've accused me of, the human trafficking, which is obviously insane, but look what the BBC printed about me. The BBC said that 13 years ago, I was emotionally controlling to an anonymous girl. Let's analyze this as professionals. You're a man, I'm a man. All the men watching. If this person exists, which they don't, if this person is not imaginary, 13 years ago, I was emotionally controlling. What does that mean? Does that mean I said, no, I won't buy you a handbag? Does that mean I said, no, you can't go drinking with those guys in the club? Does that mean I said, no, you should have been nice to me on my birthday? What did I do? Dunno. Who is she? Dunno. And they're putting it all over the news and calling me a sex criminal? How do I defend myself against such abstract bullshit? It's garbage, but they'll do it to absolutely anybody. They could say the same shit to you or any other man watching this. They could say 10 years ago you were emotionally controlling to an anonymous female. You are the enemy of the state. But that's the thing that's crazy, right? So even with this garbage they're hitting me with, human trafficking. So they come along and they said, oh, you're a human trafficker. I said, well, I've never transported anyone. I've never kidnapped anyone. I've never restricted anyone. I've never held anyone. They said, no, but you're a human trafficker via the lover boy method. I said, what's that? It's where you pretend to love them. So what, being nice? So I was nice to some girls 10 years ago? Is that my crime? Maybe I did love them. But we're not together anymore, so what? I pretended? Who said I pretended? Prove I pretended to love. And then what did I pretend to love them to achieve? The case against me is that I pretended to love girls to make them do TikTok for money. Please listen to this. That's the case against me. I pretended to love girls to convince them to do TikTok to give me the money. The girls themselves have said that's not true, but they throw away their statements and keep them as victims in the file. That's how insane this is. And they're saying you convince them to do TikTok by pretending you love them. And the reason all this garbage has come up is basically because they chose some girls I know who have TikTok on their phone. And here I am, human trafficker. The level of insanity is crazy, and there's so much more I could say, but unfortunately I'm in Romania and I have to go to court in Romania and I have to respect the Romanian judicial system, and I have enough faith that the judge is going to look at this and say, well, this is crazy. This is not human trafficking. But yeah, you get so big and they come for you and they come to attack you. So it's scary. And if they're going to do what they've done to me purely because I know girls with TikTok, I'm sure you guys at home know a couple girls with TikTok. Watch out. Oh, we absolutely get the rough end of the stick, and there has to be some degree of burden of proof. I don't know why with these particular crimes there's no burden of proof. Surely there has to be some legal test. I don't know where a woman's statement alone just is enough. If you go into the police station and say, I know someone who stole a car. What car? I can't tell you what car. There's no car, there's no video. I can't even tell you the reg plate, nothing. But I know he stole it. Is that person going to jail for stealing a car? They're like, okay, so you can't tell me anything about the car. There's no video of the car being stolen. No cars have been reported stolen. You're just telling me they stole a car. No, go away. It's just this one particular crime. I don't know what the exact solution to it is. I guess, I have daughters. I have many daughters, and when they grow up, the solution to it for me is going to be teaching them to keep themselves as safe as possible. I believe in personal responsibility for men and women. I don't believe that's a gendered argument. I believe women and men should both be as personally responsible as possible and not rely on government or law enforcement agencies to protect them. if something happened to my daughter, heaven forbid, and I find out, yeah, heaven forbid, bro, but I find out she was walking through a park alone at night at 4 a.m, the first thing I'll do is I literally, before I plan to kill the guy and find him, because I will kill him, I'll say, what the fuck were you doing walking through a park at 4 o'clock in the morning by yourself? I'm not going to absolve her of all responsibility. I'm not going to sit and go, we live in a society where men shouldn't rape and this is all men's fault and we need more feminism. No, I'm going to say, why did you do that? I would have picked you up. What are you doing? I believe in personal responsibility for all. And of course, there's some scenarios where that won't help. Of course there isn't. But those are the most heinous, violent, brutal crimes where a woman is being responsible and doing the right thing and protecting her safety and is still raped. Well, in those scenarios, most of the men get caught because they're doing actually terrible things. But all this subjectiveness of, I was with a guy 10 years ago, I was in love with him, we lived together, we had sex, we celebrated Christmas together, we had a puppy together, it's now been 9 years, and now he's famous, and now he's rich, and I think he once told me something that emotionally made me feel like I couldn't take money from his wallet, and I'm been raped, and there has to be a level of sanity reinstalled. But that's assuming the legal and judicial system wants sanity. If you have sanity, then it's much harder to just weaponize it, right? If you have insanity, then you can just make everybody afraid of it and just weaponize it against anyone you choose. What would you do if you were in charge of the world? Yeah, that's the worst thing about this. Like, this is not a victimless crime, what's happening to me, because no crime has taken place, and then I'm being persecuted, and that's not a victimless crime. Of course, my brother and I have suffered, but so has my family. My mother suffered, my children have suffered, the mothers of my children have suffered, everyone close to me has suffered. People are suffering because of this. For what? For who? Who are we suffering for? To protect who? People who say we're not victims, this is stupid? Who are we protecting? So yeah, there's been genuine heartbreak and a lot of people crying on my side, which nobody seems to give a shit about. Nobody talks about all the BBC and all these garbage and MSN are constantly attacking me, never talk about my mental health. They talk about Philip Schofield's mental health, of course, after 2 days. After a year of attacking me, they don't talk about my mental health. They don't care about my family. They'll just put her address and dox all my family and just try and get everybody in trouble because I'm not part of the club, right? Because I haven't sold my soul. And there's been a lot of people who suffered. And I think that, in fact, in jail, I said it to Tristan, I said, we're sitting here in this hell, but everyone we love at least is taken care of. At least mom can eat, at least the kids can eat, at least the rents are paid. At least we are suffering because men are built to suffer, but everyone we love is taken care of. That gave me some solace. But the way they've attacked me, they didn't intend for that to be true. They intended for me to be bankrupt. They intended for me to be completely destitute and destroyed. They intended for me to sit in a cell knowing that I can't feed my kids. That's what they wanted to do. Just because I managed to make sure that didn't happen, that doesn't mean it wasn't their intention. Their intention is purely and truly evil. And it makes you wonder, who are these people who want to operate in this way? Who are these people sleeping well at night? But I guess the world's always kind of been that way, hasn't it? Truthfully, I love Romania. I've been here 7 years. I actually love this country and it's full of good people. And I have to be honest and say that 99% of Romanians I interact with apologize to me. 99%. People on the street, police officers, correctional officers, the people at the court, everyone's like, sorry, bro. Everyone understands what's happening. They're very sorry, and it's a good country full of good people. I came here to pack a suitcase and I got nabbed, and yeah, I knew something was up, but I was more concerned about, some Albanian gangsters or something more than the law, because I know I don't break the law. It's another really interesting paradigm shift, and I think life as you go through it is a series of paradigm shifts. It's a series of having your worldview broken and reconstructed. But one of the paradigm shifts I'm going through is that as someone who never broke the law, really, I never really feared law that much because I'm not a lawbreaker. I mean, COVID to a degree made me understand that you can't be a cuck to the law. You have to be the kind of person who's like, no, I'm not putting that mask on, get fucked. I understood that much, but I never thought I'd ever be genuinely a target of the law because I'm not a criminal. So I never really feared it. And now I have this really interesting hobby, a new hobby of mine. Before I go to a country, I investigate the legal system. Like, what happens if I get arrested? Found out that Japan's legal system's crazy. Japan's got one of the most strict legal systems in the world. They have like a 99.8% conviction rate. You don't get that conviction rate without putting innocent people in jail. If you go to a court in Japan, you're going to jail. So for a very long time, I've tried to avoid politics. My way to protect myself was I'll avoid politics. I don't really comment. I think most people can guess my politics, but I don't comment heavily on politics. I don't do political shows. I don't comment on politics very heavily. I thought if I avoided that game, because you're right, I can influence an election. I can say right now who to vote for, and they'll win. That's extremely scary for me, because that means I'm a prime target to kill. Because that makes me a national security threat. I don't think most people understand that once you're deemed a national security threat, all bets are off. If a government says that is a national security threat, they can kill you in the street, they can shoot you, they can put you in jail without charge, they can spy on your entire life, they can kidnap people close to you and try and convince them to turn. Once you're deemed a national security threat, it's like James Bond. He can go do whatever he wants to the bad guy. It's national security. Once you have control of the entire youth of a country, well, then I guess you are a national security threat. I didn't intend to be. I just say the truth, and I found an affinity amongst young men, but they are desperate for me to not have that control. So with that degree of power, I've been very careful talking about politics. I thought, well, let me avoid that game because I don't want to get in too much trouble. And then I've learned now that if you don't choose a side, you just have two enemies, assuming there's two sides at all. Some would argue there's one side. But if there's two sides and you don't choose a side, now both sides don't like you. So it's difficult, it's hard. I kind of wish we weren't living in a world where speaking the truth was so revolutionary that it causes a revolution. What if I said that's so genuinely revolutionary? I've said the things that we all grew up with and agreed with 20 years ago. Everything that we grew up with in our childhood about how men, women, how a man should be, things we should do, personal responsibility, discipline, hard work, and I've said it in a convincing way. That's it. It's crazy. I think it was blown out of proportion because that was the day I came here to pack clothes and then I got arrested. I think it was blown out of proportion, but Greta is certainly one of the protected class. I don't think many people at home realize, and I'm going to try and explain it as simply as possible, that once you get to a certain level of fame and wealth, the people who are in charge of the world want to also be in charge of you. Because once they're in charge of you, they can allow you to exist because you'll push their narratives. And for you to join their team, you have to sell your sanity. You have sanity inside of your mind. You're a sane person. You're a hardworking person. But you have to take that sanity out and sell it. They'll usually give you a large contract for X amount of million for whatever TV station or whatever company or whatever product. You have to take the sanity out of your brain, give them the sanity, and then you'll take the 20 million, and then you'll say, yeah, that is a girl with the balls hanging out of her dress. Put her in the girl prison. You're transphobic. And you have to just sell your sanity, and then you get to join their team. And once you join their team, you're part of the protected class. And the protected class is protected by basically every institution, but especially the media. Look at Philip Schofield. Guy's a groomer. 100%. Sexual predator. And look, after 24 hours, they're printing photos saying, leave him alone, his mental health, he's on the edge, poor Philip Schofield. Me, 14 months in, human trafficker, rapist, I haven't even been convicted. Human trafficker, rapist, human trafficker, rapist in Romania, must go to jail, rapist, all day, every day. Here's his mother's house. She birthed a rapist. They're attacking me because I'm not joining their team. What most people don't know, and I've tried to make this clear before and I've said it, I've effectively been offered to sell my sanity many times. You don't become as influential as I am with the kind of impressions I get without large corporations becoming very interested in you. I've had very large companies, which I'm not going to name, come along and say, we want to sponsor you. We want you to sell our product. You have to tone down your opinions. Don't talk about this. Don't say this. Don't say this. Don't say this. If you're asked about this, say it this way. And we'll give you $25 million and you'll shake the product around. And I said, no, I don't want your money. And they were kind of like, okay, well, Your decision. Now, if I was sponsored by a very, very large company, those very, very large companies wouldn't allow the media to do to me what they're doing, because they'd call the media and say, that's our sponsor, don't do that, that's our guy. It's all a big club. All I had to do was sell my sanity, James. All I had to do was cut my balls off, take the sanity out my mind, and take the money. But I do believe at a certain point of money, I mean, I'm not going to brag, but there's nothing left for me to buy. There's nothing I want I don't have. So I don't really care about money. What I do care about is I feel good inside when I know I'm telling the truth. I feel good inside when I say what I mean. I feel good inside when I wake up and don't feel controlled, when nobody texts my phone and says, you can't say that. I feel good inside when I feel like I'm helping people. That's worth more to me than money. So I never sold out. And if I had, I don't think any of this would happen. I think this is punishment for not selling my soul. I think that's why they're doing this to me. Because I have genuinely suffered. I went to jail and it was only for 94 days, 3 months, just over 3 months. But I would like to say that Romanian jail is about 5 times of English jail. We can put it down to like 1.5, maybe 2 years, without charge. In English jail, you get to at least leave the room, hang out with the guys. The lads are all right. That I'm in I don't speak Romanian. I'm stuck in my cell. My cell was about this, from this table to here. This was my room. I didn't leave for 94 days. I don't get to leave. I lived in there with the cockroaches. I genuinely suffered. I went through a lot. And one of the things that gives me solace is knowing that I suffered for a reason, at least. And I think the reason I suffered is to wake people up to a lot of things about the way the world works. The harder they push this narrative and the less people believe them, the less credibility they're going to have to hurt anybody else. So at least, perhaps, there's a good side to all of this, right? They're going to try every weapon on me to the point where it's so obvious all they do is lie that it's going to be very hard for them to lie again. And hopefully it brings some truth and some honesty to the world. And that's, I guess, where I've been trying to find some solace from the experience overall. But yeah, and I'm still in the middle of it, right? It's all just beginning. It's not over because I'm out of jail. I have a long trial ahead of me, which I knew was coming. People were saying to me, they won't charge you. They have nothing. I said, bro, they have to charge me. Oh, but they don't have any evidence. You think this is about evidence? You think this is about evidence? And most people's idea, when I talk about matrix attack, call me a misogynist. Women don't get it at all, like the girls I talk to. I'm under a matrix attack. Yeah, but you're innocent and you'll have a good lawyer. It's like, that has nothing to do with a matrix attack. That's why it's a matrix attack. If it was about innocent and good lawyers, it wouldn't be happening. The judicial system is not always about being innocent and having a good lawyer. Look what they're doing to Trump. Trump's been indicted. Like, it's crazy. At a certain level, you get to the point where they just say, get him. Don't care. Get him on something. Get him. And that's it. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter who your lawyer is. It doesn't matter if you're innocent. It doesn't matter if there's evidence. They waited till they had 2 days left of house arrest because you can only hold me 6 months without charge. They had 2 days left and then charged me. Yeah, I never felt invincible because I've always understood that you can never be bigger than the judicial system of a country. The Matrix will not allow anybody to do that. And no matter what country, you could take the most backwards country, let's invent a country, backwards land, which is a complete shithole. But as soon as you're bigger than the judicial system, you're a national security threat. So nobody can be bigger than judicial systems. So I understood that. But I understood I'd done nothing wrong. I didn't think I'd really I knew I'd attracted attention, but I'd been quite big for a while at this point. So I knew that I'd probably been investigated head to toe. I've been investigated head to toe a bunch of times, I'm sure I have. And I knew I don't do anything wrong. There's nothing to find. But it is uncomfortable. It is an uncomfortable position. But when I went to jail, I wasn't shocked. Not because I'd done things wrong, but because I knew this was, I kept saying it. I kept saying stage 2. Stage 1 is they try and cancel me and shut me up, and that's failed. Stage 2 is they're going to try to put me in jail without charge. And when I was sitting in jail, I was like, I knew it. I just knew it. And you can beat yourself up and say, what could I have done different? How could I have avoided this happening? What should I have done? Hindsight's 20/20, right? But I actually think if I analyze my life, even with hindsight, 95% of the time I've made the best move on the board. I've been pretty good that way, without being able to tell the future. And even now, as it stands, now that I'm out of jail, am I happy I went to jail? I think I learned a lot in jail. I think I learned a lot. So I'm not afraid. I'm not a person who's afraid of his emotions. I'm not going to lie to you. I've said it even on Twitter. I have nightmares and I struggle to sleep now. I never had that in my life. I'm not afraid of that. I just sit on my phone. I watch TV. I train. I do something, right? I'm not afraid of that, but I do feel like I learned a lot in jail about me and about other people, about how I should structure my life, about things I should do. I think I learned a lot, and perhaps this is part of my newfound religious conviction, but if God is the best of planners, perhaps he put me in there to learn something. I learned some very interesting things in jail, personal things, which I can't even say on a podcast, but it's all happened now, and I don't see the point in looking at it in a negative way. Could I have prevented it happening by being less fantastic? Well, perhaps. But Nelson Mandela went to jail, and Muhammad Ali went to jail, and Malcolm X went to jail, and MLK went to jail. And when you tell the truth about the world, you're going to do a bit of jail. It's kind of just part of it, I guess. Like I'm trying to make it lighthearted because I don't want to sit and say they put me in a dungeon and left me to rot for no fucking reason, because then I get upset. So I'm just very much like it's part of the path, it's part of the journey, and I'm glad I'm out, and I hope I don't go back. I've always been a believer in the struggles men have in their minds, and I've always spoke about it, and I've suffered with them myself. And this is one of the things when I say like depression isn't real, people say, oh, you don't understand. Let me counter that argument by saying, I understand very well. Me convincing myself and me deciding that depression isn't real is how I prevent myself from ever feeling depressed. And I've only constructed that mental model because I've been in situations in my life where I felt depressed. I'm not saying depression isn't real because I've never felt depressed. I'm saying depression isn't real because I've been very depressed. That people don't understand where my mindset comes from. I understand struggle and mental health and all these things. And yeah, jail was another chance to certainly touch on them, because in jail, in real life, when you have my kind of resource, you can distract yourself very easily. If you're sitting around and feel a bit mopey, if I'm sitting here and I'm a bit like, I can literally make a phone call and in 45 minutes be in the air on my way to anywhere on the planet with whoever I want to do anything I want. So you can distract yourself. I'm not saying it fixes all mental health, but it distracts you. Whereas in jail, you are stuck alone with your thoughts. And it was certainly a test of my mental resolve. And I would say that I passed. I did well. There was never a day where I broke down. There was never a day where I couldn't handle it. There was never a day where I wasn't polite to the staff. I was very nice to everybody. There was never a day I couldn't hack it. It was certainly a test. And also, Tristan said this. I don't want to take his words, but he's true. You go through life telling everyone you're the baddest motherfucker there is. Sooner or later, someone's going to test you. You walk in the pub and you say, I'm the hardest man there is. Sooner or later, someone's going to fight you. Sooner or later. And life's like that. You want to be the top G and you want to go through life and say, I'm the top G. Then God's going to say, well, we're going to see if you deserve to call yourself the top G or not. We're going to put you in a Romanian jail cell. We're going to leave you there to rot. You're not going to know how long you're in there for. And the biggest mindfuck is I thought I was going to be in there for years. I had no idea. Everyone's telling me years. I thought I was going to be in there for years. So maybe God was just he was watching me and he was having a look and saying, you want to call yourself top G? Let's see. And I like to think I passed that test. So it is what it is. But yeah, I agree with you. In terms of mental struggles, yeah, they exist for all men. And I also think that's one of the reasons I'm so large. I talk about those things a lot. I talk about those things a lot with men, and I help men with them. And I try and say to men overall that life as a man is pretty shit. And you're going to feel shit for a pretty large percentage of the time. But you're only going to ever escape that if you just perform regardless. You have to perform when you feel bad. As a man, you can't say, I will perform when I feel good. It doesn't work that way because our heads are too complicated and life's too complicated. There's too much on our shoulders. We have too much stress and too much pressure. Our heads are fucked. You have to be the kind of person who says, I perform regardless. I didn't miss a single day's training. I didn't miss a please. I didn't miss a thank you. I'm not saying I was happy. I'm saying I did exactly what I was supposed to do. 'Cause, 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 to jail.
Right or die.
Yeah, 100%. He was like, I'd be furious if he put you in jail by yourself. So that was nice to have him there. And for sure, he's been tied up in all this garbage purely because he's my brother. That's true. It's kind of good to know that even the Matrix see us as a team, not just us see each other as a team, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I'm not really too philosophical about it. It's kind of, I don't want to say, it's not very often in my life because I'm the kind of person who tries to prepare his very best, and I'm a hard worker and I'm extremely diligent, and I like to make sure that everything is organized and I need to do my best to influence the outcome in the best possible way, etc. But this is probably the first time in a long time I'm in a situation where it's pretty much it is what it is, right? It is what it is. If the legal system is fair, and if Romania does what I believe it will do, because I love this country, which is analyze the evidence and give me a fair judgment, I will walk. If this is a Matrix attack, I'm going to jail no matter what. Doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what evidence I show, I'm going to jail. So what can I do? It is what it is. And we have to see how God has this all laid out for me. And it is scary, for sure it's scary, but I don't think that sitting around being scared of it is going to help. I think the best thing I can do is the same things I would do if this wasn't happening, which is train hard, work hard, take care of the people who are close to me, love the people close to me, be a good person, help people, smile. What else am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to sit around and fucking mope like a fucking baby? It is what it is. And I truly hope I don't get thrown back in a jail cell. But that's all I can do is hope. I've always been very smart. I've always known which people on my team are really on my team and which people on my team are there for clout. I've always been good enough. I know which girls love me, which girls love the life. I'm smart enough to be able to tell. I always could tell. But what you learn in jail is then it goes down a level deeper, right? And it becomes a little bit more subjective because everybody to a degree is selfish. Everybody does things for selfish motivations, and that's not a bad thing. Like I give $25 million a year for charity, but I feel good about it. So am I doing it for them? Well, yeah, I am, but I'm also doing it for me. There's a selfish motivation to do a nice thing. So sometimes I came out of jail and people were amazing to me while I was in jail, and they did the right thing and they stuck by me. But over time, their motivations evolved as selfish, perhaps. And I'm not saying they didn't care about me, but they also cared about the things that came with helping me for them. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's a complicated issue. I never really had anybody that close to me who I believed cared about me, who didn't care about me. I already knew who was who. What I did have was people who I thought didn't care about me who proved that they did. I did have a couple people who I thought, oh yeah, we barely know each other, who did amazing things for me. And I also found some kindness in strangers. Bro, there was a girl, I've still never met her, I don't know who would come and sit outside the jail and play me love songs every night. And and I'd say, play White Snake Is This Love was stuck in my head when I was in jail, don't know why. Play White Snake Is This Love. And she'd just play it outside the jail for me. She's from Hungary, some Hungarian girl. She said when all this is over, she's gonna come see me, but right now she's going back to Hungary. She's scared of anyone finding out who she is. It's crazy, like that. She cared more about me than some other people I'd known for 20 years. She's outside the jail every day. But is she crazy? Is she a Matrix agent? Who knows? Like, you end up, I don't want to be paranoid, but now I'm sitting thinking, okay, well, that's the ultimate setup, isn't it, Free? And also another thing people complain at me about, like they say, oh, you come out of jail, you don't talk much. If you ever sit in a courtroom and see every message you've ever sent on WhatsApp used against you for the last 10 years, you're going to stop sending messages on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Or Signal. Or Telegram. Like, I don't talk on the phone anymore. I'll reply with a thumbs up or okay. When I first went to jail, I thought I'd only be in jail for 24 hours. They have no case. How can I be longer? 24 hours, they can hold you, go to a judge. Now, everyone was sure. Go to the judge, you go home. Everyone was sure. The judge said 30 days in jail. Like, whoa, that's crazy. Went to the appeal. We're gonna win the appeal. So it's only 4 or 5 days in jail. Went to the appeal said more jail. We're like, we couldn't believe it. My legal team couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So I was very sure I was supposed to get out. And I already had booked a doctor's appointment for February 6th. I was arrested on December 29th for February 6th in Dubai. And I called my PA from the jail on the 20th of January because I had court on the 25th. And she said, are you coming to the doctor's appointment? And I said, yeah, I want to come to Dubai for the doctor's appointment. I need to come to Dubai. if the judge lets me go. That's what I said on the phone. They took that conversation, edited it, cut it up, and went to court the following month saying that I'm trying to flee the justice system of Romania and flee to Dubai, and the judge agreed and gave me more jail. It's insane. We had the doctor's appointment pre-organized. I said, if the judge will let me go, it's for a doctor's issue. It was organized in November before the arrest. Doesn't matter. Everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. So it's definitely changed the way I interact with people now. And I don't want to say that I've become paranoid. I would hate to think that it's affected my personality, but it has. It has. If I meet a brand new girl now, let's say I meet a brand new girl and she's gorgeous. She goes, oh yeah, we'll talk. I can't flirt and text with her like I can't, like, oh, who is she? What is this? What if she deletes these 3 messages and leaves this message and last week's message and this and her message in between? It fucks with you. So you end up reclusive. So I guess I just talk to less people than ever. I've kind of ended up there because, especially till this process is over, and I think that's kind of sad. That upsets me a bit that I can't be myself. I mean, the scariest thing about court, and once again, I'm going to actually show respect to the country of Romania and respect the Romanian judicial system and respect the judges. But it is scary to be in a courtroom where you don't speak the language. That's a unique experience. If I was in court in England, I get to talk. I get to explain what happened. I get to understand what they're saying. I get to counteract the prosecutor, etc. But when you go to court in, let's say, we didn't have to say Romania, Thailand, Vietnam, China, Russia, anywhere. You sit in the room, everyone starts talking. You're sitting there like a dummy, looking around, and then, okay, jail. What? Is that it? Jail. Or at the end they go, yeah, you get a chance to speak, and you stand up and you speak. Does anyone even understand you? Who knows? Who are you talking to? The wall? You're just talking. And they're just sitting there going, you don't know, do they even understand you? I don't know. Back to jail. It's scary. And of course I appealed to the embassies saying, look, I'm an American citizen, I'm a UK citizen, help me. But the UK government hates me. The UK government spends billions and billions of dollars, or pounds, sorry, trying to convince children that I'm bad. And then they put sexual education books to 8-year-olds talking about anal sex and all these haram things. That's fine. But I'm the evil one because boys like me that I have a few fast cars. It's crazy. So the UK government hates me. Like the UK embassy wouldn't even come see me. I convinced them to come once. Eventually they turned up. I was like, this is garbage. You have to get me out. Well, we have a welcome pack for you that explains what happens when you go to jail abroad. So here's your welcome pack, and I only have 5 minutes, so bye. They didn't give a fuck. I was like, whoa, thanks. It was crazy. I'm not running away from this. I don't think I can run away. I can't be a fugitive for the rest of my life. I'm 36, bro. And I've done nothing wrong. And it makes me look guilty. And I've done nothing wrong. I have to sit and show a judge that I've done nothing wrong. Even if they put me in jail, for my own sanity and conscience, I have to sit and explain I've done nothing wrong. And show the proof. Show the CCTV. I have video. I have audio. I have I don't have words. I have proof. If someone says he kidnapped me and I show their Uber records of them traveling all around the country, and I show CCTV of them walking in and out the house, and I show them partying and drinking, and I show them being in the country while I'm not in the country because I'm away working and they're going to parties and nightclubs with other people. I have the evidence. I have to show a judge. I'm not going to run away. If that bites me and I end up in jail, then it is what it is. But I gotta believe that God loves truth enough to save me from this. I can't believe that I'm gonna go to jail for this complete garbage. Getting out of jail should have been a relief. But I guess also with me, and I'm not complaining, because I'm not the kind of person who complains, but my life, I'd like to say that my life is probably 20 men's lives. My life is extremely busy and large. I have a very big life. I have children, different mothers, and I have 110 people who work for me, and 7 companies, and 15 houses, and 40 cars, and planes, and boats, so I have a lot that happens. Like all day, every day, all I do is work. My life is work. I wake up, I start training, I'm on my laptop all day, every day. And people say to me, what work are you doing? And I say, my life is a job. I'm organizing my life. By the time I make sure that everyone's fed and everyone's paid and the cars are clean and the boat's where it's supposed to be and my upcoming appointments are organized and I manage to look after myself and train a little bit, the day's over. I don't have any time for leisure. So when I got out, the backlog, and also I guess I'm an OCD kind of person. So the backlog of 92 days of disappearing was pretty substantial. So I got out and I'm calling everyone. What happened with this? What happened with that? What happened with this? I need this. Give me this paper, this. And I found myself, I got home from jail at maybe 1 a.m. here. And I sat on my computer for maybe 30 hours. Didn't move. 30 hours just on the laptop, just trying to find out what happened with my life.
Process.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I'd be like 15 hours in, and I'd remember, oh yeah, there's $4.2 million. Where did that go? Where was that sent? Where was that money? Where was it? Did it bounce back? Like just money and cars and I just sit there typing on the computer, and I was probably more stressed than I've ever been. I'm sitting there with my beard, stressed. And I hadn't been on a computer in so long, I forgot how to type. So all my messages to people are just fucked. But yeah, it was crazy. And I kept saying, to Tristan, because Tristan's the opposite of me. He's like, Andrew, relax. We just got out of jail. It's fine. I'm like, yeah, give me a week. And when it's all under control in a week, we'll chill. And still to this day, I'm doing the same thing. I'm still stuck on the computer. So I knew charges were going to come. It didn't surprise me at all, because you can't make a song and dance this big and then drop it. Imagine they dropped it. Everyone would go, wait, whoa, you put the man in jail? Where are the victims? Who? You can't just invent human trafficking. What do you mean you drop it? What do you mean there's no case? You can't just drop it. They had to try and charge me. Also, there's legal repercussions I could take for false imprisonment. Right? So they have to charge me. So I knew it was coming. I'm not surprised by it. The charges came. I went to court yesterday to find out if my house arrest will be extended. I find out tomorrow morning. So maybe by tomorrow morning I can leave the house for the first time in 188 days. I have not had a day of freedom. That'd be interesting. But perhaps not. Perhaps they're going to extend my house arrest and deem me a public danger and I'll be stuck here. I don't know what's going to happen. But I knew the charges would come, but I'm actually quite happy that the charges came because it's the first chance I get to display my evidence. All the way up to this point, every time I went to court, it wasn't about the case. It was about whether I should be detained as the investigation goes on. That's a different argument than the case. So it's very interesting because you stand up in the court and you're like, I have all the evidence, I'm innocent. They're like, we don't care if you're innocent or guilty. It's nothing to do with the case. This is about, should you be detained as we investigate you? And you're rich and you can run away. So yes, go to jail. It's frustrating. This is the first time I get to actually show my evidence. And I don't see how a judge can disagree with what I'm going to say and show. It's pretty black and white. I have to show, once again, respect to the country of Romania, and I'm going to stay in Romania no matter what when this is over, whether I win or lose. I'm not going to leave this country. I'm not going to run away. My brother has Romanian children. I have Romanian nieces now. We have a lot of Romanian houses. Our life's here. We've been here a very long time. I believe I'm going to be found completely innocent because the evidence that we have is more than substantial. It's insane amounts of evidence that show that we're completely and utterly innocent. I believe we're going to be found innocent. I believe that God, like I said, the moral arc of the universe bends towards truth. I think Martin Luther King said that. It just takes a while. Sometimes you look at the world and say, it's all just run by falsehood and lies. But I think the moral arc, although it's long, in the end bends towards truth. It's hard to hide truth forever. And the truth will come out and we'll be exonerated. And I look forward to that day and repairing my reputation and getting back to my normal life and just looking at this whole saga, this whole story, and taking the lessons from it and trying to be the best possible person I can be, protect myself for the future the best way I can, and go from there. And if it goes a different way, I'll see you outside playing love songs. The closer you find yourself to God, the closer you find yourself to Islam. That's the bottom line of it. If you're going to be atheistic like I was and then start to believe in God, and then you're going to default to Christianity like I was because I was raised Christian, and then now I live in Romania, which is the second or third most Christian nation on earth. I think it's 98% Christian in the last census, and it's Orthodox. Orthodox I respect much more than Catholic because the Pope is an agent of the Matrix. And Orthodoxy is still strong and strict, and they still believe in all the rules and laws. But as you find yourself closer and closer to God, you find yourself closer to the idea of rigidness and the fact that there should be strict, clear boundaries and guidelines. God says yes and no. God doesn't say, well, maybe if you want to, it's okay on these days. You shouldn't, but no, God says yes and no. God is very clear. And the closer you find yourself to God, you start to want that. As a Christian, I don't know how you answer to certain questions anymore. Yes, as a true believer, but which Christians are true believers anymore? As a Christian, I don't know what the correct answer is to a lot of the degeneracy that is happening in the world today. I don't know what a Christian would say. Would they say, it's fine, we forgive them for what they're chopping kids' dicks off? Or do they say, that's wrong? What does a Christian say? I don't know. I know what a Muslim says. So it's like, it's the only religion left that makes sense to me. And you say it's a brotherhood and it has your back. I didn't consider that before I joined. I've learned it's true after I joined. Yeah, it absolutely is. There's, like every organization or every group of people on earth, it can go both ways. There's certain people who attack me for not doing everything completely correct like I'm supposed to, even though I'm a Muslim for 7 months. They're like, oh, you didn't read this bar. So you do have those people, but in general, yeah, it's a community. But I never considered that before I joined. I just found myself becoming more and more religious and finding myself speaking to God in my head more and more often, and then being very disappointed with the Christianity I see around me. How can I speak to God in my head and look for his guidance and then walk past a church and it's covered in gay pride flags? It doesn't make it make sense to me. I just found myself alienated from Christianity. It's like, well, which religion sticks to what it means? Which religion says what it means and means what it says? Because that's the kind of person I am, and I want a religion that reflects my personality. And I want to believe that God also thinks the same way. So you end up drawn to Islam. And I think a lot of people have now. It's just the matrix itself which is left, which is trying to push these narratives. I'll give you an example. BBC will talk about how I said something 8 years ago on a video that got 100 views that could be misunderstood by young boys and is dangerous. I do not believe there is any 15-year-old boy on the planet who is finding 8-year-old videos with 100 views, watching them an hour long, taking out 3 seconds of it, putting it into his brain, ignoring the rest, and then becoming a bad person. The only reason these boys even hear these clips is because the BBC continued to use them in an attempt to slander me. But I would never say I trusted them, but they lied to me. They told me they were going to come and ask me questions about my mental health, and they sat me down and attacked me in an attempt to slander my name with a big setup. And they wanted to talk to me for 2 hours and find 3 minutes of me making a mistake or stuttering or not being able to answer a question and use it against me to slander my name like they've always been doing. But I made a complete fool of them. And that scares me also, because that's their primary weapon, is the media. And if you continue to destroy the media, they're going to find other weapons, which is scary to me. Now they've moved on to the judicial system. We'll see what happens after that. But I let them in, not because I trusted them, but I thought, you know what, after all these months in jail and the fact they're asking me questions about my mental health, and this is my first time talking to the Matrix in a very long time, this might be an interesting conversation. And I was wrong. So instead I had to teach them all a lesson. I made fools of them. Like, I made absolute clowns of them. They should have just asked me interesting questions. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect him to come that hard, and he did, but this is the thing. This is where I was saying earlier about I believe the spiritual consciousness of people is changing. And I think that we're in the middle of a great awakening, because after the first Piers Morgan interview, when he came for me so hard, after the interview, I was like, well, this would be interesting to see back. And as I watched it back, it was hundreds of thousands of comments of people saying, Piers, what what the fuck you doing? Leave the guy alone. People are tired of the MSM in their lives. I believe people like you and your channel has more power than most MSM outlets. I would argue right now that the Daily Mail said that 2 + 2 is 5, and if you said 2 + 2 is 4, you'd have more impact than them. I think the MSM is genuinely failing in real time. I think that citizen journalism is the way to go, and I think that if the MSM want to even stay relevant, gatekeeping information and trying to set narratives and attack people that they're told to attack is just going to destroy them even quicker. But they're not allowed to change because the only reason they exist in the first place is to do these things. Well, also, yeah, and the BBC is the British Broadcasting Corporation. They're a government-funded agency, and it is their goal to purport what the government wants purported upon the population. If the government wants you to believe the sky is green, the BBC are the people who are going to tell you the sky is green. That's their job. Do you think the news exists to inform you? Do you think the news, which is free and everywhere, is made by nice people so you know what's going on? You, Mr. Nobody at home. They really want you to know what's happening. That's why they give you this nice news channel. You fucking dumb? You out of your fucking mind? They don't give a shit about you. You don't know anything about how the world works. The only things they show you are bullshit things you're not allowed to, that don't affect anything. They distract you with garbage constantly, and if they're gonna tell you something as a fact, it's a lie. So anyone who believes any of this shit left, I mean, there are some people which are just beyond saving, pure Matrix agents, but anyone who's believing anything the MSM says, I'm truly at the point now, if I watch the news and they say something, I don't believe a word of it. I don't believe a word. Like even the most basic things. Today, this happened there. Nah. I don't believe a word they say. All they do is lie. The scariest thing about the world we live in today is that there are people out there who do not think other people should have opinions. My opinion is X. His opinion is Y. They should get rid of him because of his opinion. That's the most truly scary thing. I have no problem debating or arguing with anybody about any opinion, and I believe you're entitled to have it, and I think you should be able to say it. I don't care even if your opinion is I'm a dickhead. Keep it, fine, say it, no problem. If your idea is so fantastic, then come and challenge me with it and defend it. That's what I think though. I think the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. I'm not saying I'm right about everything. If I believe this and you believe this, the truth might be here. That's the whole point of our debate, of our argument, of our disagreement. But there are people out there who genuinely believe nobody should have an opinion that differs to them. And those people, by coincidence, always have the exact same opinion that the Matrix wants them to have. Isn't that interesting? These people never think, I don't want anyone to have a different opinion and my opinion is completely unique. No, I don't want anyone else to have a different opinion and my opinion is what the TV tells me to have. Those are the most dangerous people. The most dangerous people on the planet are the complicit people. Compliance. It's complicity that's dangerous. It's the complicity that allowed all the Jews to be murdered. They just comply. Oh, well, no, it's not me and it's not my problem. And the TV said, the radio told me. So much has been done in the name of compliance. All of this COVID garbage was just a big compliance test. Compliance. We know this because in the countries where nobody listened, COVID ended pretty quickly. The countries that didn't comply, there was no COVID. The countries that complied, there was COVID. That's how the disease worked. It's clown world. It's absolute insanity. So compliance is a very dangerous and very scary thing. But some people's minds are not ready to be freed. They say it inside of the Matrix. This is the reason I call it the Matrix, because that movie so accurately describes the world we live in so many different ways. But it says so many people's minds are not ready to be freed. And there's nothing you can say to them. They're just going to become an agent when you attempt to free them. If you sit down and make it clear that you're a free mind, they're going to morph into an agent and try and kill you. They're just going to sit there and say, no, COVID. And they're going to defend it. I would say to them to use their minds and use their brains, and don't judge me based on my personality or whether you like me or not, or don't be emotional about this. Let's be very logical. If you're a person who is watching this and you have a brain and you're smart, but you believe I'm a human trafficker, this is the story you must believe. You must believe that me, Andrew Tate, a man with no criminal record who has never been convicted of any crime in any country ever, at the age of 35, when he already had a net worth in excess of $250 million, decided to form an organized criminal group and begin human trafficking. It's clearly not my personality profile because I don't have a criminal record, and it's clearly not a financial motivation because I'm already rich. He decided to human traffic his friends near him who had TikTok accounts, who are now defending me, saying, he didn't human traffic me, this is stupid, let him go. If you believe that story, that without financial motivation and without any other motivation, and the fact that I've never been a criminal before, I decided to somehow human traffic people close to me who are now defending me desperately, saying this is unfair and corrupt and he should be let go. If you still believe that I'm a human trafficker, you should put a mask on and get your 8th booster injection because you are beyond help.